things are changing and changing very fast, globally, domestically, on the continent. I think the key thing is to be able to survive and be in a position to survive past some of these massive changes that are happening. The key ones are the ones that we don't know will happen. We didn't know that the Westgate Mall, probably built by some South African participation, would be attacked. How does a company that was invested there survive that kind of black swan event? But then there are other things that we can look at domestically. How do we cut through the noise of politics and look at the real stuff? How do we survive the impact, say, of the collusion ruling by the Competition Commission on the construction industry? Those are some of the things I think that business people need to look out for. They need to be aware that these things will be key over the next few months, over the next few years. And then, of course, there's China. China is going to continue to be a big hitter on the continent, and it will have an effect on virtually every aspect of the way we do business. I think China will continue to be a big player in South Africa. It's already a big player on the rest of the continent and will continue to increase its footprint. China, despite the slowdown in its economy to about 8.5%, actually, China still needs a huge chunk of the resources that Africa has. So it's not going to stop its initiatives on this continent. So I think every South African company, whether it's in construction or whatever field it may be in, every one of us needs to think about China and where China is going and how we are going to interact with China. It's not always a negative relationship. Some of our biggest institutions in South Africa now have Chinese investment. We think about Standard Bank, for example, many others. So China is a big player globally and will be a big player for a long time in South Africa. Workers in general have the right to strike in South Africa, and they can exercise that right. The problem with Marikana, for example, and with many others we've seen after that and before that a bit, is that the chance to negotiate was not exhausted. So what we've done is that in 1997 we had the Labor Relations Act. The Labor Relations Act said you put your issues on the table, you negotiate, then you go through a process. And it's called a protected strike. So you go out on strike, you withhold your labor. If I'm a businessman and people are not working on my factory, I lose money. So you're putting pressure on me. But when you just walk out, it's not part of the law. It's not what we agreed on. So Marikana, the problem with Marikana was that the chaotic nature of it. It went outside of the systems that we've put in place. And that is why there's a danger that the consensus between business, labor, and government is falling apart because the rules are not being followed anymore. Workers must stand up for their rights, and workers must strike if they wish to, but it must be within the framework that we have built. The problem is that what happened with Marikana is that immediately afterwards and throughout this year, you've seen, whether it's at Medupi for construction people, you've seen people just downing tools. In fact, after Marikana, Medupi went out on a series of strikes right up to Christmas and in January 2013, which were very similar to what happened in Marikana, where there was no trade union. It was, I'm a worker representative. It was chaotic. So as an employer, you don't know who to negotiate with. As a trade unionist, you are out of the loop because a new leadership just emerges out of nowhere.